Good morning, all. I can't see anybody apart from the Innovation Hub screen. It's wonderful to have so many people watching today. We're making a good early start in the sunshine with snow on the ground outside. And today is the Innovation Hub, courtesy of RABDF, and the highlight of which will be judging of the three finalists from a huge selection of award potentials this year. And we've got an action-packed itinerary with lots of different speakers, lots of different reels of new products that are out there being used and coming to the online world, the world where we can research and find new ideas. This is very much a showcase for all. So I'd like to begin by welcoming our first speaker, which is one of our sponsors today, kindly sponsored by Molecare Farm Vet. Andy Adler, he's the clinical director, his role being nutrition and veterinary, bringing those together, and he's going to give us an overview of beta carotene and vitamin E levels in dairy herds in the southwest of the UK. So over to you, Andy, and we'll get in amongst it. Thank you very much. There will be options for people to put their questions in to the chat box as well. There we go. I can hear you now, Andy.
Can you hear me now? Sorry, I
was
I was in all kinds of muting hell.
No problem. At least Jackie Weaver didn't exit you early. You're still
exactly. Here. Thank you, Tim, for that. I mean, we are living in a very new world where we're just looking at a screen and getting feedback is very difficult in these presentations. You want me to start my video too? Thank you. Can you see me now as well?
I can see you now, Andy. So lots of participants waiting for your
okay, that's fine. Well, I better get going now because I'm running behind already. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for asking me to come in to speak. I'm going to talk today about some work that Molecare Vets have been doing with Mole Valley Feed Solutions and DSM over the last sort of 12 to 18 months around beta carotene and vitamin E. What we're going to be doing today is various parts of this conversation is why we've done this a bit, what have we done, little look at the results, and then really some follow-up about what this has led to and really some further questions that it's created in doing this survey. So the question is, why have we done this to start off with? Well, there's some interesting data coming out of Europe from Professor Joe Leroy, who's at the University of Antwerp, and he's spent his career doing research into oocyte development and follicle development in cows and the effect of antioxidants on their viability. And in 2019, he published some work about the European situation and how there's an awful lot of lack of antioxidants in cows and how that can affect embryo quality. And so we were asked if we were interested in seeing if UK data was similar to European data. So we were quite keen, thought it was an interesting thing to be doing. And so we've created a collaboration between DSM, Mole Valley Feed Solutions, and Molecare Services. Several reasons to do that: to build up some experience of working together, to see what was going on. But I think also the last time this sort of survey was done was probably 20 years ago. And since then, there's been an awful lot more yellow ingredients being used in the dry cow diets and fed in general. And I'll talk about that more further on. I think the other thing that's changed is we've got new technology available, and that enabled us to to be able to check for antioxidants in a much easier fashion. We've now got some on-farm technology that we can use. We can take some bloods from cows and we can look straight away to see what their antioxidant status is. I think the other reasons doing it is always an important piece. It's around educating and upskilling the advisory teams who are supporting. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about antioxidants, and when we talk about antioxidants, we're talking a lot about oxidative stress. So I've got a couple of slides of talking about the detail of some of the biochemistry going on here. For most of a cow's life, we hope that antioxidants and reactive oxygen species are in a nice balance. And when they're in a nice balance, then there is no damage being done. However, we do get oxidative stress when either there's too much of the reactive oxygen chemicals, and these are chemicals that are produced in response to insults and in response to losing weight. So we see more of these chemicals when cows are losing weight and due to bruising. So calving time would be a really normal time where we see an awful lot more reactive chemicals around. And they're mocked up, if you like, in the cow by these antioxidants, which are nice things. And we also see an oxidative stress where the equilibrium it goes wrong when there isn't enough antioxidants as well. And why are these antioxidants important? Well, I think if we look at Professor Joe Leroy's work, what we've always known, I think, is that it takes between 90 and 100 days between recruitment of an oocyte or a follicle, between recruitment and actually that follicle being released at estrus and then being fertilized and turning into an embryo all going well and then into a calf, etc., an implantation. And the point here is that that's a 100-day period from recruitment to fertilization. And during that period, things can go wrong. And a lot of the things that can go wrong are with oxidative stress. And so these oocytes actually these oocytes feel the oxidative stress as well. So if you have periods during that where there are stress, that will be reflected in the oocyte quality that comes out when you serve the cow. And so if that oocyte's been under stress for a period of that 100 days, you're going to get less embryos and therefore less calves. The rate will go down. What we know is that if you've got good antioxidant status, then that protects against this oxidative stress. And the vitamin E and beta carotene, which are the antioxidants we talk about a lot, they decrease the oxidative stress. And if you have that in balance the whole time, you're going to get better embryo production, and you're going to get more likely to have a viable embryo which turns into a. And so we did a survey in the winter of 2019-20. We actually we managed to get this done luckily before the COVID hit, which was a bonus. And what we were doing was we blood sampled 15 cows from 10 herds. We looked at 5 dry cows. We looked at 5 freshly calved cows and 5 post-calving cows, sort of 20 to 45 days calved. And what we were able to do is we were able to use this technology, which was supplied to us by DSM, which is a small eye check device, which we can measure, just a calorific measure of vitamin E and beta carotene status. And we were able to report those results to the farmer and let them know whether they were sort of sufficient, insufficient, or deficient in the in these vitamins and antioxidants. And what sort of results do we get? Typical farm. What we would see is around calving time, the vitamin E would be low and the beta carotene would be low as well. And that's not a huge surprise because at calving time, there's an awful lot of stress on the cow. There's a lot of bruising that occurs in the cow. And because there's bruising, you're going to get reactive oxygen species released, which need mopping up by these antioxidants. So the antioxidants are all being mopped up at that point. What was more surprising in a lot of these herds was we found low vitamin E and beta carotene before they calve, when they should be pretty chilled for these cows. You know, they're not working that hard at that point. And we also found deficiencies after they calved as well. Majority of these farms that we blood tested, 9 out of 10 we blood tested in the Southwest, were on a dry cow ration, which was more than 50% yellow diet. And we would, when I say yellow diet, what I'm talking about there is straw and whole crop and maize. And we see more problems of antioxidants on that sort of diet compared to a green diet, which is a grass silage. And generally with grass silage, we'd expect better, higher levels of antioxidants anyway. And we've actually since done some work in Scotland where it's a lot more of a green-based diet, and certainly up there we're seeing much lower levels of deficiency than in the Southwest on yellow diet farms, which is to be expected. So in the Southwest, what did we find? We tested approximately 150 cows. So the dry cows, 50% of the dry cows were deficient in vitamin E and beta carotene during the dry period, which was higher than we expected. 90% of fresh cows were deficient in vitamin E and beta carotene. 75% was deficient in beta carotene. Not totally unexpected, but still higher than I expected. But we expect more around calving time because there's more stress around calving time. And I think the surprise that I found was, over 30% of cows that we tested were still deficient in both vitamin E and beta carotene 3-4 weeks after calving. And what we've got to remember is during this whole period, we've got developing oocytes, which turn into the embryo longer term. And during this period, they're all under stress, and therefore they'll be decreasing the likelihood of successful embryo development. And if we put that in a graph, what we see is oxidative status will change. Antioxidants go down around that calving period and that period afterwards. At the same time, the energy balance is going down, and a lot of this is caused by cows losing weight, and the NEFAs that are produced, non-esterified fatty acids that are produced when cows lose weight, need to be mopped up, and they cause damage to your cows. What has all this led to? I think that's the important thing here is we've also been able to give feedback to those farmers who we took some bloods from about the supplementation of antioxidants. We've also been able to reflect about the changing nature of dry cow diets that occurred over the last 20 years and the increasing prevalence of yellow dry cow diets. And there's been a lot of good research showing that dry cow diets high in straw content enabled higher dry matter intakes after calving. So these yellow dry cow diets are really, really helpful from a point of view of post-calving diets, but they come with some negatives, and the negative is they don't have as much antioxidant. This has also led to us thinking about the whole fertility story, and we actually did a fertility survey of farmer attitudes towards dairy cow fertility, which I'm going to talk about in a second. It's also led to a training program within the Mole Valley nutrition team, really focusing on not just the nutrition aspect, but also the fact that fertility on farm is a really multifaceted nature, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And it's also led to an awful lot of collaboration between nutritionists, vets, and consultants, and really with the idea that as we move to bigger farms and as we move to a more complex farming environment, we believe that farmer support is going to need to be a much more collaborative support, so that if everyone's saying something similar and working effectively with the farmers, we can actually allow our farmers to go further and deliver more. Did a survey, and interestingly, 45% of farmers viewed fertility as a very, very high priority, which was a good number actually. And if we take it all sort of 7, 8s, and 9s and 10s, we've got over 85%, 90% of farmers are saying that fertility is a significant priority for them, which wasn't a big surprise, but it was good to see. But what was interesting is as herd size gets bigger, which is probably a likely outcome, farmers became more aware of fertility and rated fertility as higher for of higher importance to their herds. And so when you get herd size over 300, 91% of those were rating them in the top numbers. And how are farmers rating their fertility from very poor to excellent? Only 2% of farmers thought that their fertility of their herd was excellent, with 60% of farmers rating it at 7 or 8. So there's room for improvement there, and I think farmers were viewing that as a room for improvement. And then there's a whole piece around the fertility puzzle. We focus a lot around antioxidant status with this survey, but one of the outcomes of that has been the ability to talk to farmers well, talk to farmers and talking to the nutrition team and the vet around all the other aspects of fertility. So although antioxidant status is one important part of fertility and creating good follicles and available fertilization, I think it's really important that the submission rate is also very important. You can talk to your vets. Transition cow management is very important. Spent an awful lot of time discussing the importance of body condition score and body condition score loss, because it's that body condition score loss that often leads to the antioxidant status becoming an issue. And there's good evidence that, very good evidence that the body condition score loss leads to poorer conception rates and poorer fertility.
Hi, Andy, can you hear me?
I can, Tim. Can you not hear me?
Yes, yeah, hear you well. I'm getting quite a few questions coming in, so from the nearly 150 participants, and just want to fire one in for you to mull over as you're going through your presentation. What time of year were the samples taken, and were any taken during periods of high heat stress? Question, James.
That's a good question, and they were all taken in the winter, and so it's unlikely that there was heat stress in December and January, and it's a good question because heat stress will also cause reductions in antioxidants, and these antioxidants are really, really important for managing, helping manage heat stress, but it's unlikely they're under heat stress in December and January, and if they're under heat stress in December and January, then we've got problems, I think, would be the honest answer to that, Tim. And so this is my last slide, to be fair, Tim, and then I'm very happy to take questions after that. Does that make sense, or not? Do you want me to answer the question?
No, that's brilliant. Carry on.
And so what next? Where have we got to next? I think from the Feed Solutions point of view, we're looking at putting more vitamin E in dry cow diets generally, and we actually expect the NRC guidelines to be updated. We have now created some antioxidant packs for cow herds on yellow and green diets, and getting nutritionists to think about the difference between the diets that the dry cows have. There's a focus on fertility within Mole Valley, which farmers have got a priority on. There's also a bit of a question. There's some Japanese work out there actually that beta carotene, which is difficult to read, but beta carotene may affect the immunoglobulin G concentration of colostrum, and so we're going to actually investigate that a little bit. All going well, COVID allowing, obviously. So that was all I was going to say, Tim. If you want to know more, please get in contact with me, but there's obviously some questions, so I'll see if I can answer them.
Brilliant. No, it's very topical. Certainly, we're busy calving at the moment, so immunoglobulins, as you mentioned there, what else can we do to improve the quality of colostrum then, and consequently the embryo rate and fertility of the cows with the lower antioxidants?
Yeah, and that's really what it was all about, Tim. It's just we wanted to do a survey, wanted to see what's going on, and it was trying to identify the first question is there actually a problem? Is it relevant? And I think that's always the tricky thing with these sort of surveys. All we did was a snap survey of looking at in time if we look at 10 farms, where have we got to? And the answer was, surprisingly, quite a lot of them were low in antioxidants, and therefore we can do something to help.
Brilliant. Yes, I think we'll probably have to wrap it up there, Andy. That's absolutely fascinating. An awful lot in those slides for people to take on board. Thank you very much indeed, and especially for being a sponsor for the Innovation Hub as well.
Absolute pleasure, no problem.
I think now we're going to invite Chris Clark, if the technology works, from GEA Separation and Flow Technologies, who's going to give us a short overview of enhanced slurry separation. I can still see Andy on my screen at the moment. So if Andy switches his camera off, I can now see understanding enhanced slurry separation. Are you good to go, Chris? I can't see your camera at the moment. You may have to just turn your video on. There we go. All good there.
Okay, just Chris Clark from GEA. Just wanted to give you an overview of what we've been doing over the last couple of years in slurry separation, enhanced slurry separation, and some of the results that we've got from this. Yeah, we're just talking about some of the things that Andy had mentioned there about more developed farming and intensifying of the dairy industry means the knock-on effect of this is more slurry, so management is fast becoming an issue for farmers, growing herd sizes, less land availability, changing seasons, not to mention legislation changes, which are fast becoming apparent and putting the pressures on. So all of these play a part in the need for the increased storage capacity, more efficient management plan for the slurry. So some of the issues, they've been around for a long time. More recently, farmers are becoming more aware of the benefits of better slurry management and more enhanced separation to get these benefits and help you manage the overall the slurry plan. So protecting the land, utilising the nutrients in a more efficient manner to give savings on fertilizers, but better crop yield. And what we found is actually silage quality. So we talk a lot about innovative ways to make everyday life easier, more efficient on the farm and with the herds. In GEA, we talk a lot about automatic feeding systems, milking robots, animal monitoring welfare products, and all of this technology just allows less manpower to manage a larger herd size. That would have been possible in the times gone by, let's say. But one thing I personally always say, it's all positive, but let's not forget that what goes in the front end must come out the back end, and it needs to be dealt with in one way or another, whether it's storage, spreading, or treatment. So is it another topic there, as we're saying, is waste product or a valuable source of nutrients? Let's look at it in a positive light. We're probably all used to seeing what's on the screen there in spreading. So we just look at what we've done over the last couple of years is taking a deeper dive into the slurry and see what's in there. We did this in collaboration with the colleagues at GEFLIAR, with John Owen, Neil Nicholas and the guys down there in a development that went on for the last 2 years. That concluded at the end of last year. So all of this data has been taken from there, but also from other sites where we've done some analysis and testing and installation. So the dry matter content of manure, it does change to do with the animal diet, age, other factors, bedding, and everything else like that that can be in the slurry. But generally, we say that with 7 to 10% dry matter and 5 to 8% organic solids. This can vary, but when we look at the nutrient factor in each ton, we're talking about 5 kilograms of nitrogen, 2 kilograms of phosphate, 6.8 potassium. These figures will be common to everybody, but what we're trying to do is just focus on this for a moment and the nutrient factor in the slurry, because this is what's going to start to cause problems in certain areas. It's already causing problems in areas, but where we can harvest some of the nutrients. Okay. So given the amounts of slurry manure that cows produce, plus any parlour washings and so on and so forth that will come off. So we're used to tank storage, lagoon storage. Okay, there's some easy tanks, easy to agitate, pump, easier to clean, restricted in size because they're generally above ground. Lagoon storage, a bit harder to agitate, harder to pump out of and clean. Less restriction, you can have more depths and stuff. So that's generally what we'd be used to. Or spreading on the land, splash plate, hopefully. I mean, we don't seem that so much, it does go on, but there's various benefits on both of these. Land injection. What we're looking at here is nutrient loss into the atmosphere from the land application, but also blockages in injectors and so on from the high solids. So when we're talking about separation of the slurry can actually aid in all of this and help in better, more efficient application to the land. Or also, if we go on to further treatment, what is possible? That's what we're looking at. What we're trying to see is what fits each individual, almost a bespoke for each farm, because everybody's needs are different, storage capacities are different, amount of land is different. And actually some may want to say, we have very often get questions, can we get to irrigation water standard? Everything is possible, but what we're trying to do is see if we can tailor systems to people's needs, and more a bit of research to see what's actually beneficial, what's affordable, and what actually makes sense, because it's all got to be financially viable to do these things. So we look at, normally we'd say from the cow to the field, okay, you may go straight into the slurry store and straight on. You may go through a separator, 15% total solid removal, high nutrient content in the liquid because of that, because you're getting some solid removal. You may use that for green bedding or whatever, or a soil conditioner, but it's easy to stack solids, and then the liquid goes in the store with less solids. We've done side-by-side comparisons with a centrifuge, for instance, there now, so we're looking at higher efficiency. This allows you to get higher dry solids in the cake element, less solids in the going into the slurry store, so we get less settlement. Less settlement in the slurry store, less settlement in the lagoon, easier to go through irrigation systems or through the injectors into the land, with a lot less nutrient content in there. We can add additives into that as well, which we've done, and that only improves this capture rate, the solids removal rate, and the nutrient division. So we get a much better nutrient division with several additives. This is something we've been looking, again, from a cost point of view as well, to make sure that the costs make sense, to make sure that we're not chucking loads of additives in there that may enhance the separation process, but actually makes it not so viable to do from a cost point of view. Again, legislation's driving some of this as well, which makes things, it makes it interesting, but it's a little bit of frustration as well, because we're waiting for changes to see what we need to be able to achieve and what can we actually achieve. So we've done two-stage separation. So we've gone through a coarse separation, and additives, and a finer separation, and this is trying to get to that irrigation water type scenario where we can remove a lot of the nutrients out, but also get to a stage where we can harness what's in there rather than waste them. There's no point getting to a stage of dealing with all the slurry, taking all the nutrients out, and then having to still buy fertilizers and apply it to the land in other ways. So the benefits, this is just basically some figures to help understand the basis of what we're trying to achieve, and looking what could come in the future. So for nitrogen application rates, 250 kilograms per hectare, raw manure at 8%, we'd be looking at 5 kilograms per ton of nitrogen and 2 kilograms per ton of phosphate. To maximise 15 kilograms of nitrogen, we would be applying 50 cubic meters per hectare of slurry. So what this means is, to do that, or looking at focusing on the nitrogen content, it means our phosphate levels are quite high at 100 kilograms there. So that's one thing that we may need to look at and control in high phosphate areas. It's a question we get very often, is how can we control that, especially in the nitrate vulnerable zone.
Got a question come in quickly, Chris. I know you're rattling through them well, but how do you control methane and nitrous oxide loss at the separator? Question from Ian, one of the over 150 now people watching, so best viewing figures.
Right, so that's something that's coming later. That's the next stage of the process that we're going to look at. So that's something that we'll come on to. I'll explain how we're going to look at that next. It's the focus over the recent times has just been to look at the nitrogen and the phosphate for now, and then the rest of the losses. Now the system can be contained, and that can be dealt with by extraction. Again, this is based on the idea was to put it on farm, so basically without making it too complicated, but that is something that will come later. So this is what we've done. So this is what we've been looking at so far. So raw slurry coming in with the additives, looking at the division of the solid element and the liquid element. So how that division, but in nutrient terms, what does that look like? So this is what we can do. So by coming in with the raw slurry, we will get a very good division, making the cake element a very high nutrient content, nutrient rich soil fertilizer that can be stored, stacked easily in the sheds. We've also looked at the composting side of that as well, which is still ongoing. And then, but more on the liquid element, which is the higher volume, because the solid element will be a lower volume. The liquid element, which is higher volume, the nitrogen content 3.3 kilograms per ton, but the P a lot lower. We can strip 90% very easily out of the slurry. What that means when we go back to our land application rates, your 250 kilograms per hectare of your nitrogen then allows more slurry to be put on the land, so 75 cubic meters, and our phosphate level going on the land is a lot lower. So we brought that right down. So that's about the balance of where we need to get to. So we look at land area, the amount of land that's available, what's in the slurry, and then what we need to do to treat it to maximise the land's application rates. It's all about looking after the land and allowing to maximise the storage capacity and application rate. So what have we done? So down at the Coleg Cigar, down at Gethley Yard, so the guys have done various different separation stages there. We've gone from raw primary separation and this enhanced separation with additives. These are what we've got it to. So you'll see there from the left, which is the raw slurry, to the right on the picture there, very clear. That's possible. There's still elements around that, like COD, where you would say, well, you're not going to be putting that into a watercourse just yet. There's further stages that will come now in the future, which is looking likely to happen in the very near future, where we'll look at wetland systems and further options there. With this, everything is possible. It's just making it cost effective and making sure that it actually is it's realistic for people to be able to invest in this. But we've seen some very, very promising results there. So when we're looking at the liquid, this is called the Centrate just because of the way it was tested. So we went right down and looked at particle size. We're looking at the particle size distribution because this has a big effect on the actual nutrients that are in the liquid. So what's the capture rate? What are we looking at? And then we looked at what's actually dissolved or classed as dissolved solids in there and what's classed as suspended solids. Because realistically, we can only affect the suspended element with what we're talking about here without further treatment and going to the next stage to deal with some of the dissolved element, which is kind of biological treatment systems like a typical wastewater system, which again, yes, it's possible, but is it financial to put on? So in the treatment process, there's some graphs here that you'll see when we're looking at these nutrients, the NPK values and the total suspended solids. Get them right down, and through the further treatment, we can get them really, really quite low. But again, it's all about looking at what's required on farm and what we can do. So we can basically tailor the system anywhere in between there to make sure that we're getting the right amount of nutrients onto the land that's in a manageable fashion and maximising the storage. Especially we looked at this around Wales, where recently they announced they're going into the NVZ type scenario. So there's going to be restrictions that are going to come into play. So the efficient separation account, we're increasing storage capacity by lower dry matter in the liquid phase. Automated operation of the dewatering units, so basically fluctuating in feeds, we can deal with that. That's not a problem. Because of parlour washings and stuff coming in, it can also be dealt with. Easy to handle solid element and possibility to further treat the liquid or irrigation or even discharge, again, depending how far we go. So the data was collected over the last 2 years, mainly by us in conjunction with the Coleg Cigar down at Gethley Yard. In the process, we've looked at the decanter versus the screw press, so two different primary separation systems and the efficiencies between them, different screen sizes, nutrient divisions, particle size distribution. All this plays a part into this nutrient division. We looked at other secondary steps of separation with distack separators and the DAF performance and what that adds to the benefit and the actual further nutrient reduction or separation, because we are still harnessing, we're just moving the nutrients from the liquid phase into the solids phase. And then again, yeah, we're looking at what losses there are that will go to the atmosphere as well, because we've got to look at the ammonia losses too. So we tested, and then the other part is the additives that we're putting in there to enhance the separation, to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck, let's say, and we're actually not overdosing. What's the consequences of that, and obviously where's that going? So any additives that are going in have obviously got to come out as well. So where are they going? Is that harmful? Is that having an effect on anything downstream? That's all been looked at. So we're getting to the point where everything's collected as data, and actually we've actually got tangible results on that. We've done on-site trials, they're ongoing. We've done various testing, we're not just doing the GFAR, we've done other sites as well where we've gone on site and done testing on site, just to get a comparison of different farms, different sites, different nutrition, different bedding, because that term generally comes through as well, and seeing the effect that has on separation efficiencies and the nutrients in there too. So just to wrap up, a bit of a video there, but it's about realising the value in the manure and making them work for you. Taking the benefit from this valuable source of nutrients and control how you use them to get the maximum use onto land. You will save money if it's done properly. And be responsible, protect the land and the water course, don't get into trouble. We very often see this, people getting into trouble for spreading. It's part of biogas come about with the AD. People thought that it might have been a bit of a saving there. Yeah, you get some benefits there, but you still got digestate to get rid of, as opposed to raw slurry. So.
Brilliant.
Thanks very much for that. Sorry, I've rattled through that a little bit, but if there's any questions.
Thank you. Awful lot of information there. Thank you very much indeed, Chris. There is one very quick question. I could get the smell off that last video. What are the additives used? Question from Hayden.
So we've tried various additives right the way from basically from ferric chloride to polymers, which can be expensive. I appreciate that, which is why we've gone to the sort of coagulants. We've tried more natural additives, bentonite, clays. So a combination is what I'm going to tell you. A combination is what works best, and making sure that you're using the minimum amount for the most cost effective. So basically, we've also looked at electrochemistry as well. And various, so a whole range. There's still some developments ongoing, but basically, yeah, that's the sort of thing we're looking at here.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much indeed, Chris. Lots of interest there, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers will be following that up with interest. Water removal, environmental concerns. A lot of the Welsh viewers hearing recently the NVZ news will be certainly making contact with GEA, and thank you once again for sponsoring the hub as well.
Hello, Tim.
Hello, Mark.
It's Mark here. Hi.
Nice to see you this afternoon. Yes. Yep. You're going to give us an overview of Miracle Tech and new product availability as well.
Yes, I'm not. I can control apparently the slide, so we'll see if that that works, hopefully.
Brilliant. So, over to you then, Mark.
Thank you very much, Tim. Pleasure to be here this afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Harrison, and I'll be bringing you up to speed with everything that's happening to Miracle Tech currently, and presenting to you 2 new products and highlighting how these will benefit farmers. And firstly, I think it's quite appropriate if we sort of summarize the presentation. This is a bit slow, beg your pardon. It's that we have a quick look at our story, a little bit of the journey of where we've been in terms of Miracle Tech over the last couple of years. Take a look at the range as it stands now. This is not moving forward. Can I have the next slide, please? Is that possible? And then we'll conclude with a look at the R&D facilities that we have at Red Oak Farm. Miracle Tech are proud to be sponsor of Dairy Tech, and would like to thank both Dairy Tech and RABDF for being allowed to present you today. As a way of introduction, I think it would be only appropriate if I introduce you to George Coles. George Coles was created Miracle Tech and set off on a journey of sort of winning awards. He was the outstanding producer for Innovation England and Wales category at the runner-up in the category for M&S Farming for the Future Awards in 2016. And he went on and added in the same year the Outstanding Farmer Award, McDonald's Outstanding Farmer Award with the Countryside Alliance Rural Oscar in 2017. He won the Outstanding Beef Farmer category in the McDonald's Awards and was 4th overall in the competition and made the finals of the British Farming Awards. And then more recently, Miracle Tech was runner-up in the 2018 Royal Dairy Innovation Awards, won the 4F Innovation Awards in the same year, and again was a runner-up in the Royal Dairy Innovation Awards in 2020. But there was one event that was pivotal in the, I can have the next slide please, in the journey of things, and that was the birth of a certain calf called Miracle back in 2014. This funny looking calf arrived at Red Oak and by all reasoning wasn't really supposed to live, but live she did. And during her time with George and the herd at Red Oak became in many ways the co-creator of what Miracle Tech is today. Have the next slide, please. Her life, Miracle's life in the 3.5 years that she was around required several technical solutions to enable her to feed and survive. And these products kind of worked so well for George that he started representing the manufacturers here in the UK and selling them to other farmers. And in time, a new business was created. And so it was only right really that Miracle should get some of the credit and have her name incorporated into the company name. And hence why we are called Miracle Tech today. Our range basically is, I'm going to just go very quickly through a range, and this is a very important tool. This is MooCam, a very essential piece of equipment. Our customers often will say that they wish they had put cameras in years ago. Can I have the next slide, please? A camera in the barn and around the yard has become one of the easiest ways to ensure you don't miss a thing. So carving, lambing, foaling, feed and water monitoring, for example, and obviously for the health and welfare of animals, and more critically as well to the people working in and around the farm, particularly as a lone farm worker operations are more frequent. Having a camera can give you the peace of mind that you can see what is going on, both good and bad. Have the next slide, please. Cameras need to be able to be installed correctly for a start. They need to operate in both daylight, low light, and obviously at night. You need to be able to obviously work at a distance or see at a distance and be able to zoom in or see close up as well. And you want fairly understandably to be able to operate the cameras remotely and work even when the yard is off grid. Ideally, you'd also want those cameras to kind of give you alerts and notifications. And the best way of doing that, of course, is to your phone. And this is what we can provide with the MooCam and other products from the Hikvision range. I have the next slide, please. And if it's there and possible, can we run the video? Is that running that video? There we go. Right, you can see the Hikvision camera installed in, it seems to have gone back. Can I recover the last slide, please? Thanks very much. Can we run that? This will run for a couple of minutes, but the Hikvision camera is up in the ceiling of this very large barn, and we can show it sweeping through the barn from both sides, and clearly, you know, this is a daytime shot, but the barn itself is obviously not in the full light, and you can quite easily see. Identify the animals very clearly in color with the Hikvision camera. As we sweep back across this shot, we'll also start to pick up things like your water troughs, and who hasn't had a water trough that's gone offline in a rather spectacular fashion. There's obviously the water trough. We scan back across. Now we're starting to pick up the feed barrier. To me, equally just it's important to make sure that there's enough feed out for the cattle. Back across to the other side. So this is all capable of being operated remotely. You can clearly see those animals that are calving. Take a look at mismothering, the health and welfare of each animal. Hopefully this will swing back across. Just to show you the impact of the zoom facility on the cameras. This will go back across to the other side in a couple of seconds. And we'll zoom in now. A fine view of some bedding. And you can see the detail that comes up. Hopefully you can see this on your screen, but you can actually read the ear tag numbers of the animals in question. So it's a very powerful tool to have on your farm. Can I have the next slide, please? What is very important, I think, in our camera work is the fact that we've had massive amount of experience in installations of systems. So regardless of how good your Wi-Fi coverage is, how wide an area it will cover, we can ping the images to other buildings, even with no line of sight in them, and obviously set up your systems where there's no power, no Wi-Fi, or even both. Next product that we represent is the AlphaVision. This is a two tools in one. Let's say that very clearly. The AlphaVision is effective. My screen is not changing here. It's basically a reproductive health management tool for your breeding females. Basically, two tools in one. The speculum, which is on the end of the camera, that the operator has inserted into the cow, is displayed on the smartphone, which is obviously in a cradle, allowing hands-free operation. So it's basically better for the operator and for the health and welfare of the cow. It's primarily intended for inseminators and training centres. Obviously stock breeders who are performing inseminations and veterinary surgeons. So with your AlphaVision set up properly and the smartphone arrangement, one of the kind of things that have really come out of the pandemic is the ability to share the photos of what's happening inside in the cow with your reproduction consultants, your advisors, your vets, and so on. And that is quite a useful feature, particularly when we are all conscious of reducing the amount of time that we're mixing and having to go onto farm. As a natural sort of requirement of using things like the AlphaVision on farm, clearly we have a range of disposables that go along with it, and we're able to supply these gloves and personal protective equipment for primarily for veterinary examination and artificial insemination work on farm from our unit to order, really. There's a vast range. I mean, it's quite a colossal range, and my advice really is to go online and download the catalogue to be able to get the full range of PPE equipment that we stock. And new for 2021, very excited to bring you this these next few slides. We have, let's move, here we go. We have effectively two products to talk about. The first one is a 3D camera, which is from AgriNinja. Now look, let's face it, there's nothing that new about weighing or even camera weighing for that much, but to be able to have a 3D weighing system that attaches to your smartphone definitely is a new and exciting development on it. So you can see here in this image the device is attached to the camera. That is a 3D camera and an Android smartphone. Once you've got the device set up, you open up the Dairy Manager Plus app and effectively start taking images, 3D images of the animals. Now you can do it two ways. You can obviously, by entering the information at the time that you're taking the images, body condition score, breed, you can instantly get a weight, or alternatively you can collect those images and then go back down to the farm office and go through those images and basically process the images and get the weights while enjoying a cup of tea. So that's the Dairy Manager Plus, very much a stress-free cow weighing management system, covers all breeds and ages. It's a real-time tool. And for me, very much looking at it from a feature thing is that, you know, we have stock that are not near a handling system. They're out grazed somewhere. You don't have weighing facilities. With the 3D camera, you can go and do those. And so for things like replacement heifers, transition animals and so on that are not able to be weighed, you've got a device in your hand that you can go and do some of those routine exercises out anywhere that you like. It's also sort of a tool that is being used by advisors, so both feed advisors, obviously veterinary surgeons are using it, and consultants, where you need to get a better understanding of what the weight profile of the animals is. And because within the camera, if you've got all the camera animals records on the phone as well, you can see whether the animals are gaining and clearly losing weight, and make a management decision right there and then to do something about it. Our next product that we're introducing for 2021 is another weighing device. It's made by Strongbow, an Irish-based company. It's a non-invasive platform for not just weighing animals, but also health monitoring. Here you've got an image of it set up in a pasture, slightly artificial, in that this is can be used in a number of different ways. So its standard installation would be as a water bowl weighing system. So as the animal goes to drink, its weight is being captured by the technology within this box here, which does require the animal to have an EID tag. The antenna on this will read that tag, obviously know and record the weight against that animal and transmit that data to your data hub, to the bovine hub. Now, the interesting thing about this is that you can have that set up so that it's powered by solar for very remote locations, or more imaginatively, can actually use the water flow to generate electricity, which will power the device, which I think is a really good idea. And it also, while it's generating power from the water, is also measuring the water consumption of each and every animal. Now, in a pasture setting, that may not be as relevant, but in a pen situation, that is highly relevant. The water data combined with the weight data is giving you a really significant advantage to understand more about the health of the animals that are being weighed, and do something about it if the data flows are telling you that there's a problem. This obviously shows you how portable it is as well. So just do a quick summary of the slide. Come on, move. There we go. So indoors, beg your pardon, I'll go on into it. The slide's moving. Basically, so you can use that Strongbow indoors and out. It works 100% automatically, so you don't have to have any humans involved in it. There is a data hub that you're connected to, so as the animal weight is being recorded, all of that information is available on a dashboard, which is provided as part of the system, and you go take it from there. We put this slide in because Miracle-Tech have become a distributor of TrueTest and Kaisley products, and TrueTest primarily for the EID weighing systems and the EID readers particularly, and Kaisley for the EID tags. I'm getting a very slow transition here. Apologies. Everybody's kind of seen, obviously, what a weighhead and a EID reader is. In the case of proven technology like TrueTest and Kaisley, this is what we're adopting right across the board with the cattle at Red Oak. So every animal on the farm is EID tagged, and we have the facilities now set up to use the EID as we are handling the animals on a daily basis. So this is a calf with a regulatory tag, which is also EID enabled. The Red Oak Farm facilities, they've been used as a test bed for products for many years. They've also hosted demonstration events, so farmer discussion groups, and also professional chefs have come along, food service and hospitality chefs have come, butchers have come to see the operation, see the animals, and understand more about the process of where the meat comes from. It's a very useful test bed for our products. And if this transitions, we have there's a video that's on this, but I think with the timing I might clip it. But if I just speak through, you can kind of see what we've got. We've got a very useful handling system here for running cattle through the crush. On the wall on the right-hand side is where we put the instrumentation, the readers and the weighheads that are recording the data that's coming off the platform. There is an antenna sitting up above the crush to read the EID tags. We also have a stick an EID reader, which we use for smaller animals and obviously for other reads around the farm. So that's really what we want to promote in terms of the Red Oak Farm facilities, both for research and development and for training and product evaluation. And we're very much open for business for that. And I think in the sense that we understand about the nature of the pandemic, I think it's very important to know that this can be actually set up to work remotely. So you could have any people tuning in from any part of the country and getting a sort of continual professional development exercise, or a discussion, walk and talk on any aspect of livestock production.
Thank you very much, Mark. I think the heaters alongside your crusher are a very good idea today.
I have to say that Red Oak gets my vote for the most comfortable operating environment ever. So.
Yes, yeah, do like those. We have got a question. If I go back to the right screen, what is the cost of the Dairy Manager Plus, and do you need special training for the stick with the camera for identifying scanning cows?
Yeah, both very good questions. In terms of the pricing on the Dairy Manager Plus, the Dairy Manager Plus comes effectively as two components. You've got the hardware part of it, and you've got the software part of it, which is the hub where you get your information from. And we as part of the sort of the implementation of it are going to we've got lots of helpful video clips and various other tools that enable somebody to learn how to use it. It's relatively straightforward, as with most things, once you've had a go, and really the best way of learning how to use it is to use it. Now, in terms of price, the price is going to be fixed this spring for the 3D version, and so I'm not going to speculate what that might be, but it will be on the Miracle Tech shop as soon as possible, and we'll make an announcement for that. If you go onto the shop at the moment, you can see the device that is used for the beef industry. That's obviously going to get an upgrade with the 3D as well, but it'll give you an illustration as to what the device has currently being sold at.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. And what I neglected to mention at the start was your support as a sponsor for the Innovation Hub within RABDF as well. We're extremely grateful, and thank you for coming across to all the participants and online viewers today, Mark.